Hey folks, just a quick reminder before we dive in. Be sure to follow SkyAlert USA to catch this and all our future weather updates. And if you want to help us out, go ahead and subscribe, like and drop a comment below. We really appreciate your support. Major winter storm alert, historic snow, ice and Arctic blast, set to impact over 175 million Americans. January 22nd, 2026, SkyAlert USA Weather Briefing. Good morning, America. This is your critical weather update from SkyAlert USA, and we need your immediate attention. What we're about to experience over the next 72 hours is shaping up to be one of the most significant winter weather events in recent history. A massive storm system stretching over 2,000 miles, combined with a major polar vortex disruption, is set to deliver catastrophic impacts from Texas to New England, affecting more than 35 states and over 175 million people. Today's weather situation, Wednesday, January 22nd, 2026. As we speak on this Wednesday morning, the stage is being set for an unprecedented winter weather assault. Across the northern United States and Canada, dangerously cold Arctic air is already pushing southward, while moisture from the Gulf of Mexico is streaming northward on the storm's southern flank. This collision of air masses will produce one of the most complex and dangerous winter storms we've seen in years. Currently, lake-effect snow is hammering areas downwind of the Great Lakes, with snow bands producing near whiteout conditions across portions of Michigan, particularly the Upper Peninsula and northern Lower Peninsula. Alger County, Luce County, western Chippewa County and northern Schoolcraft County are under winter storm warnings through early Thursday morning, with accumulations of up to 8 inches and wind gusts reaching 35 miles per hour. Travel in these regions is already becoming extremely hazardous. The polar vortex, that massive circulation of frigid air normally locked over the Arctic, has undergone a significant disruption. A stratospheric warming event has weakened and displaced the vortex, allowing brutally cold Arctic air to plunge southward across Canada and into the United States. This is not your typical winter cold snap. We're talking about temperatures that will challenge records and create life-threatening conditions for millions. The major storm system, timeline and impacts. Friday, January 23rd, 2026. The storm begins. The winter storm will begin impacting the southern plains and southwest on Friday. This is when the situation becomes critical for millions across Texas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, and the surrounding states. Cold rain will break out across the Dallas-Fort Worth metroplex by Friday afternoon, but here's where it gets dangerous. As Arctic air floods southward, this rain will transition to a deadly mix of freezing rain, sleet, and snow by Friday evening. The Dallas-Fort Worth area should prepare for significant ice accumulation, potentially a quarter to half an inch or more. When you consider that metropolitan area has over 7 million residents, many of whom rarely experience such conditions, the travel impacts will be catastrophic. Oklahoma City is facing what could be one of its top 5 largest snow events in recorded history. Current forecasts show 8 to 14 inches of snow accumulation across central Oklahoma into northern Arkansas. The combination of heavy snow and gusty winds will create near blizzard conditions in some areas. Interstate 35, Interstate 40, and Interstate 44 will become virtually impassable. Little Rock, Arkansas, is forecast to receive 6 to 12 inches of snow, transforming this southern city into a winter disaster zone. Municipal resources in these areas are limited when it comes to snow removal, and the storm's intensity will overwhelm what capabilities exist. By Friday night, the winter storm warnings and ice storm warnings will expand dramatically. The National Weather Service is preparing to issue warnings for dozens of states as this monster system begins its eastward march. Saturday, January 24th, 2026. The storm expands eastward. Saturday is when this storm reaches its peak intensity and geographic coverage. By this point, the system will be more than 1,000 miles wide, and its impacts will be felt from the Mexican border to the Canadian Maritimes. The Tennessee Valley will wake up Saturday morning to a full-blown winter crisis. Nashville, Memphis, Lexington, and Louisville will all experience significant snow and ice. The forecast shows accumulations that could bring these cities to a complete standstill. Nashville, in particular, faces a dangerous ice storm with potential for widespread power outages. The Appalachian region will be hammered with heavy snow. The southern Appalachians, including portions of North Carolina, Virginia, and West Virginia, could see 1 to 2 feet of snow. This is terrain that becomes treacherous quickly, with winding mountain roads becoming death traps under such conditions. Georgia and the Carolinas face a particularly dangerous scenario. A swath of significant ice accumulation is forecast from Atlanta through Augusta, Georgia, and into Charlotte, North Carolina. Ice storm warnings will be in effect, and we cannot overstate the danger here. Ice accumulations of a quarter-inch or more will snap power lines, bring down trees, and leave hundreds of thousands without electricity for potentially several days in freezing temperatures. The storm's northern edge will begin impacting the mid-Atlantic states Saturday night. Washington, D.C., Baltimore and Philadelphia should prepare for significant snow accumulation beginning late Saturday and continuing through Sunday. Lake effect snow will intensify across the Great Lakes region as Arctic air roars across the relatively warmer lake waters. Communities downwind of Lakes Erie, Ontario, Huron, and Superior should prepare for additional feet of snow in traditional snowbelt areas. Sunday, January 25th, 2026. The Northeast Assault. Sunday brings the storm to the densely populated Northeast Corridor. Boston, New York City, Philadelphia, and Washington, D.C. will all be in the crosshairs, though the exact snow totals will depend on the storm's precise track. Current model guidance shows increasing confidence that the Northeast will see significant snowfall. Boston could receive 6 inches or more, with some areas potentially seeing higher amounts. The WBZ weather team has issued a next weather alert for Saturday through Monday, highlighting the likelihood of a major 1-2 punch of winter cold and heavy snow. New York City and Philadelphia are both forecast to receive substantial snow, with current predictions showing the potential for 6 to 12 inches across the region. The I-95 corridor, one of the nation's most heavily traveled highways, will be severely impacted. The storm's path will be crucial. Computer models are still showing some variation, with the European model tracking closer to the coast and the American GFS model tracking slightly farther offshore. A shift of just 50 miles in the storm's track could mean the difference between 6 inches and 16 inches of snow for major cities. By Sunday afternoon, more than 30 states will be under some form of winter weather warning, watch, or advisory. The eastern half of the United States will be essentially paralyzed by this storm system. Monday, January 26th, 2026. The cleanup begins, but, the cold remains. So, Monday will see the storm system finally pulling away into the Atlantic. But the impacts, well, they're gonna linger for days. More importantly, the Arctic air mass behind the storm is gonna settle in, and honestly, just refuse to budge. Snow removal efforts will be underway across dozens of states, but this will be complicated by the extreme cold. Road salt becomes less effective at very low temperatures, making snow and ice removal more challenging, you know? Many areas that receive significant ice will take days to restore power as utility crews work around the clock in some pretty dangerous conditions. The Arctic outbreak, a separate but equally dangerous threat. While the storm system itself is catastrophic, the Arctic air mass that follows may be even more dangerous from a human safety perspective. Canada bears the brunt first. Our neighbours to the north are already experiencing the leading edge of this polar vortex disruption. The Weather Network reports that Arctic air is bringing extreme and, well, potentially record-breaking temperatures to the prairies, Ontario, Quebec and the Maritimes. Saskatchewan and Manitoba are taking a direct hit on Thursday, January 22nd. By Friday morning, parts of these provinces will plunge to minus 40 degrees Celsius, with daytime highs struggling to reach minus 30 degrees Celsius. These are temperatures where exposed skin can freeze in minutes, where vehicles refuse to start, and where infrastructure faces some severe stress. Northwestern Ontario will see temperatures drop below minus 30 degrees Celsius by Thursday night. Toronto, Ottawa and Montreal will all experience dangerous cold through the weekend and into next week. Montreal's coldest days arrive Saturday through Sunday, with high temperatures struggling to climb above minus 20 degrees Celsius. If Montreal reaches minus 30 degrees Celsius, it would be the first time since January 1994. Ottawa may hit a low of minus 21 degrees Celsius, marking the city's coldest day in 10 years. The Canadian Maritimes, including New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island and Nova Scotia, will experience several days with high temperatures in the negative teens Celsius, with overnight lows plunging into the negative 20s. The coldest air of the winter season will arrive in the United States Friday night and Saturday morning. This is being described by multiple meteorologists as dangerously cold, with wind chill temperatures that could cause frostbite in as little as 5 to 10 minutes. Extreme cold warnings have been issued for parts of North Dakota, much of Minnesota and Wisconsin. These warnings are reserved for the most dangerous cold conditions, when simply being outside becomes life-threatening. The National Weather Service recommends not going outside at all when these warnings are in effect. By Saturday morning, wind chills across the northern plains, upper Midwest and Great Lakes region will range from minus 30 to minus 50 degrees Fahrenheit. These are wind chills that are rarely experienced even in northern climates. In the Chicago area, wind chills could reach minus 35 to minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit, with winds gusting over 30 miles per hour. The cold will not be confined to the north. By Sunday and Monday, below zero temperatures will extend as far south as the Ohio Valley. Areas around the Great Lakes that rarely see prolonged sub-zero cold will experience multiple days of it. Perhaps most remarkably, the cold will push deep into the south. The Deep South states, including Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and even northern Florida, will see temperatures that are extraordinary for these regions. Temperatures in Florida could drop low enough to trigger falling iguana alerts, a phenomenon that occurs when these cold-blooded reptiles become immobilized by the cold and literally fall from trees. From Friday through Tuesday, the Fort Worth and Dallas area could see temperatures ranging from 0 to 28 degrees Fahrenheit. This is 5 consecutive days of freezing or below freezing temperatures in an area where such conditions are rare and infrastructure is not designed for them. The National Weather Service office in Dallas-Fort Worth is urging residents to protect their homes by covering exterior faucets, leaving indoor faucets dripping with cabinets open, and knowing how to locate their water shut-off valves. Blizzard warnings are currently in effect across a stretch of the country from South Dakota through Minnesota and Iowa. These warnings indicate that frequent wind gusts of 35 miles per hour or more, combined with falling and blowing snow, will reduce visibility to a quarter mile or less for 3 hours or more. Under these conditions, travel is not just difficult, it's potentially fatal. The National Weather Service is urging people not to travel under blizzard warnings. If you absolutely must travel, you should carry a winter survival kit that includes blankets, food, water, flashlights, and ways to stay warm. If you become stranded, the advice is clear. Stay with your vehicle and wait for help to arrive. By Friday, dozens of states will be under blizzard warnings, ice storm warnings, or winter storm warnings. Travel across the eastern two-thirds of the country will be severely impacted, and many airports will need to shut down operations. Major airports expected to see significant disruptions include Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport, Will Rogers International Airport in Oklahoma City, Clinton National Airport in Little Rock, Memphis International Airport, Nashville International Airport, Hartsfield Jackson Atlanta International Airport, Charlotte Douglas International Airport, Washington Dulles International Airport, Baltimore Washington International Airport, Philadelphia International Airport, Newark Liberty International Airport, John F. Kennedy International Airport, LaGuardia Airport, and Boston Logan International Airport. Some of these airports, particularly in the South, do not have extensive de-icing equipment for aircraft. This will lead to widespread cancellations and delays that will ripple through the national aviation system. If you have travel plans this weekend, you should consider them already cancelled and make alternative arrangements now. Major interstate highways will become impassable or extremely dangerous. I-10, I-20, I-30, I-35, I-40, I-44, I-49, I-55, I-65, I-75, I-81, and I-95 will all see severe impacts at various points during this storm. This represents thousands of miles of the nation's primary highway network. The ice storm component of this winter weather event presents perhaps the most serious long-term threat: widespread, prolonged power outages affecting millions of people during life-threatening cold. When freezing rain accumulates on power lines and trees, the weight of the ice causes catastrophic failures. Tree limbs snap, falling onto power lines. Power lines themselves snap under the weight of ice accumulation. Utility poles collapse, and all of this happens simultaneously across huge geographic areas, overwhelming utility companies' ability to respond. Cities like Dallas, Little Rock, Nashville, Charlotte, and Atlanta are all facing the potential for devastating ice accumulation. We're talking about ice storms that could leave hundreds of thousands of people without power for days, potentially even a week or more in some areas. The combination of no power and extreme cold creates a genuinely life-threatening situation. People without alternative heat sources will be in danger. Pipes will freeze and burst, causing water damage and leaving people without water. Emergency services will be strained beyond capacity. If you live in an area forecast to receive significant ice accumulation, you need to prepare now. Charge all electronic devices, fill bathtubs and containers with water, ensure you have alternative heat sources like fireplaces or generators, use safely outdoors, stock up on non-perishable food that doesn't require cooking. Have flashlights and battery-powered or hand-crank radios. Check on elderly neighbors and relatives. Know where warming centers are located in your community. And never use gas ovens or outdoor equipment like grills for indoor heating due to carbon monoxide danger. All right, folks, let's dive into the 3-day forecast in detail. Thursday, January 23rd, 2026. It's, the calm before the storm for many areas. Arctic air will continue pushing southward out of Canada, and lake-effect snow will persist across the Great Lakes region. The southern plains and southwest should use Thursday to complete all storm preparations. By Thursday evening, the first precipitation will begin spreading into West Texas and New Mexico. Up in Canada, extreme cold will be entrenched across the prairies and starting to spread into Ontario and Quebec. High temperatures Thursday will struggle to reach 0 degrees Fahrenheit across much of the northern plains and upper Midwest. Minnesota and North Dakota will experience some of the coldest conditions, with wind chills approaching -40 to -50 degrees Fahrenheit. It's going to be, well, downright brutal out there. Friday, January 24th, 2026. The storm begins in earnest. Morning temperatures will be dangerously cold across the northern tier of the United States and most of Canada. The winter storm will rapidly intensify across Oklahoma, Texas, and Arkansas. What starts as cold rain will transition to a dangerous mix of freezing rain, sleet, and snow during the afternoon and evening hours. By Friday evening, snow will be falling heavily across central Oklahoma, with blizzard conditions developing in some areas. Ice accumulation will begin coating everything from Dallas northward through Little Rock. Friday night into Saturday morning will be when the situation becomes most critical across the south-central states. Arctic air will be flooding southward behind a powerful cold front, making sure that precipitation remains frozen across a huge area. Temperatures across Texas, even in southern areas, will be plunging toward freezing and below. So, folks, it's going to be a rough one. Saturday, January 25th, 2026. This is the day when the storm, well, it reaches its maximum intensity and coverage. From Texas all the way up to Maine, winter weather is just gonna dominate. Heavy snow will be falling across Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Tennessee, Kentucky, Virginia, West Virginia, and the Carolinas. Ice will be piling up across a huge swath from East Texas through the Tennessee Valley, even into parts of Georgia and the Carolinas. By Saturday evening, the storm will be pushing into the mid-Atlantic states and getting real close to the northeast. Washington, D.C., Baltimore and Philadelphia will be getting hit with heavy snow. The storm's northern edge will be moving in on New York City and Boston. Travel? It's going to be impossible across most of the impacted area. Millions will be without power as ice brings down power lines all across the south. Emergency services, honestly, they're going to be overwhelmed. This is a day to shelter in place, if you can at all. Temperatures across the eastern two-thirds of the United States will be, well, brutally cold. Highs won't even escape the teens Fahrenheit across much of the Midwest and Northeast. Even in areas getting heavy snow, temperatures will be unusually low, making the snow dry and powdery, easy for the wind to whip up into blinding snow squalls. Sunday, January the 26th, 2026. The storm is going to be pulling into New England and starting to move offshore, but, impacts will still be severe. Boston and coastal New England, well, they'll be experiencing the height of the storm Sunday morning and afternoon. Heavy snow will just keep coming down across interior New England. The Mid-Atlantic, they're going to be dealing with cleanup efforts, but that Arctic air is settling in right behind the storm. This is when the truly dangerous cold moves into the region. High temperatures Sunday across much of the northeast may not even hit single digits Fahrenheit, with wind chills below zero pretty much everywhere. Down south, folks will be dealing with the aftermath of catastrophic ice accumulation. Power restoration efforts will be underway, but honestly, progress is going to be slow. Many areas will face days without power as utility crews work through damaged infrastructure across multiple states at the same time. By Sunday evening, the storm system will be moving into the Atlantic, but its impacts, well, they'll linger for days. Beyond the 3-day forecast, the extended outlook, it just doesn't offer much relief. The polar vortex disruption is expected to keep a pattern of Arctic air delivery into the eastern two-thirds of North America all the way into early February. We're looking at multiple additional cold blasts, sweeping from Canada across the United States throughout the final week of January and on into early February. Long-range forecast models, they show the potential for even more winter storms during this period. With the jet stream pattern staying amplified and Arctic air readily available, any new storm systems that develop are going to have all the ingredients needed to produce significant winter weather. Canada's long-range models show continued cold air dominance through the end of January, and the February outlook is also favouring below normal temperatures across much of the country. The United States can expect a similar pattern, with frequent Arctic outbreaks and winter storms remaining a threat well into February. Now, for a little historical context and significance. This winter weather event is historic in multiple ways. The geographic scope, affecting more than 35 states and over 175 million people, puts it among the largest winter storms of the modern era. The combination of heavy snow, catastrophic ice, and extreme cold all happening at once. Well, that's a rare thing. For a lot of southern cities, this storm is going to rank as a top 5 or even top 3 snowfall event in their recorded history. Oklahoma City, Memphis, Nashville and others could see snow totals that haven't been matched in decades. The ice storm part, though, that's maybe the most historically significant. The swath of damaging ice accumulation from East Texas through the Tennessee Valley and into the Carolinas could affect infrastructure and knock out power on a scale we haven't seen since major ice storms of the past, like the ice storm of 1998. The polar vortex disruption driving this whole pattern is a major atmospheric event. Stratospheric warming events like this only happen a few times per decade, and their impacts on surface weather can last for weeks. The current disruption is one of the most significant we've seen in recent years. All right, safety recommendations and preparations. If you're in the path of this storm, here's what you need to do right away. For snow, stock up on food and water for at least a week. Make sure you've got medications and medical supplies. Fill up your vehicle's gas tank now. Have snow removal equipment ready. Check your heating systems. Have backup power sources available. Charge all your electronic devices and know where your emergency shelters are located. For ice, prepare for extended power outages, have alternative heat sources ready and know how to use them safely, protect outdoor faucets and pipes, stock up on batteries for flashlights and radios, have non-perishable food that doesn't need cooking, fill bathtubs and containers with water, move vehicles into garages if you can to prevent ice damage, clear gutters and downspouts, and trim tree branches that could fall on power lines. For extreme cold, limit your time outdoors, dress in layers if you have to go outside, cover all exposed skin, recognize the signs of frostbite and hypothermia, check on elderly neighbors and relatives, bring pets indoors, let faucets drip to prevent pipes from freezing, open cabinet doors to let warm air reach pipes. Know the signs of carbon monoxide poisoning and never use generators, grills, or other outdoor equipment indoors. For travel, cancel non-essential travel plans now, but if you must travel, carry a winter survival kit in your vehicle. Tell someone your route and expected arrival time. Keep your gas tank at least half full, have warm clothes, blankets, food and water in your vehicle, charge cell phones, and maybe have backup power banks.